So, hello everyone. My name is Dan Ackers, and I write the Adaptive Human. And today I wanted to have a conversation with Danielle, who is writing the next sprint nowadays after your rebrand.
I know, little rebrand.
So I'll let you introduce yourself and then
Yeah,
see where we go from there.
awesome. So yes, I'm Danielle. So Dan and Danielle, I just realized that. I don't know why that took me a minute to put that together. But yeah, I just rebranded recently. So it was the Everyday Sprint if you followed me for the past few months, but now it's your next sprint. So I'm trying to shift a little bit more. The messaging was a little unclear. I started out kind of like the overthinking mom, and just felt like I'm a newer mom. My son's like 2.5. So it was like every day felt like a sprint to me. And I also have like a background in agile project management where sprints are, basically planned work. So I am trying to kind of bring that skill set over to a lot of us part-timers doing Substack, business products, all this stuff going over here. So so I still feel kind of early on into the process, but I really like it on Substack. I've literally never done this before, like as far as like I guess social media from like this standpoint, like growth. I like have personal social medias, like I'm a millennial, so of
Uh,
course, like I had MySpace. I do love Facebook still, just for a personal, like, because I have people on there, but I never
yeah,
like did the business side of anything. I was just always like posting my life, So I feel like this is a little more serious, but I still bring the personal aspect into it, which I think makes this more exciting too. So
in a
relatable.
way, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. From my side, like I've I've got accounts in most social medias, but I really don't use any of them except this. Like Substack is the first so-called social media that I actually use.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might be able to find me in most other platforms, but I
Yeah.
just pretty much got nothing on there.
Like I said, I use other social media a lot, but I was more like doom scrolling. And since I've joined Substack, I actually did take them off my phone.
Mm,
Um, and like I will still like go in just to touch base, but I feel like Substack's kind of taken over my life. So I don't go in them as much. But yeah, I was always like trying to be keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, and but it can be draining, especially on the other
yeah.
platforms. So. But yeah.
That's cool. Anyways, for the viewers we got here right now, I want to let you know that if you have any questions for either of us at any point, just feel free to ask, and we'll pick them up when we notice. So, um, for first, like you mentioned that you like the agile framework that you've been using at work a lot. So, what or which part of the framework do you feel like translates well into real life? How would
Um,
you describe that?
so I always say that do kind of use it in real life. Probably the biggest thing is it's just thinking about like how many ideas that we have. So like projects at work, and I work with like software development teams. So
Hmm.
obviously that, there's a lot of big ideas that happen with teams like that, and changes that people want. And um, you know, everybody wants everything like to be done immediately, but really it's about taking things in small steps
Hmm.
that add value. So the idea behind Agile is, you take like a sprint, which could be however long you want it to be. It's usually like a 2 or 4 week thing. And then you basically plan what you're going to do within that time frame. And the key behind it isn't just, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. These are the tasks I'm going to do. If there's like a little bit more to it, it's, what do you have the capacity to do? How can you can add estimates to how long something is going to take. And then is it like moving you forward? Is it giving value? So like in software development, it's, we maybe design a product that is usable by the end of the 2 weeks. It's just not, the end game. Like there's more to do, but it's actually, you've given value to the customer. So I feel like that mindset can be brought to anything really. I do think about it in real life, just anything, house projects or life projects. But I've been bringing it to Substack as I've kind of been growing. So I think like I had an article a couple weeks ago just about like my 7-hour Substack, and a lot of people were like, are you really doing 7 hours? And really the whole point of the article was, yes, you can, like in 7 hours was just the number like I kind of estimated, but if you're really like consistent and you are very, time blocked and driven on exactly what you want to do, and you're not getting tied up in the notes feed or the notifications, 7 hours is totally doable. It's just, what do you do in those 7 hours, and what does that actually look like day by day, and it's a way to kind of say like, I can show up consistently, but not like dedicate my entire evening or life to this, because I know a lot of people that I talk to are balancing life. So so that's why I think like the Agile framework can really help people that are trying to do this part-time. So but yeah.
How would you describe that? Let's say you're planning out this first time block of, let's say it's a 2-week period. Like, how would you say that when you plan out these 2 weeks, how would that work out?
So usually you start with, I always use the term backlog. I feel like it's a pretty general term, but it's like a to-do list essentially. I think everyone kind of has this set up differently. Like maybe you have a tool, maybe you have a notebook, maybe you have whatever, but a lot of times like I do what I call brain dump, there's a lot of things I might be thinking about, and this is just how I think, but especially with Substack, there's so many areas you can focus on, and like, between reading articles, engaging in articles, replying to comments, writing your content. And at the end of the day, you have to decide, well, what's going to be more important. And if it is a piece of each of those things, what's like the small part of that we can take? So if it's writing an article, for example, maybe you're not going to write your whole article. Maybe you're just going to draft it out, and then that's like 20 minutes. Okay. So I'm done. And then I don't go back to that. Same thing with like comments and engaging with people. It's like, all right, I have to time block this. I know it's crazy to say that. You literally should put a timer. Like I've had to do this sometimes because you get caught up, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to just spend the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like doing this. And then you literally cut yourself off, okay, I can't reply anymore. But yeah, it's just like those little increments of time. And I feel like a lot of people, time blocking is what works. It is just hard because you have to really be disciplined with this, especially with the distractions and the noise. And I think that's like the whole game is, and the idea behind it is like, you can see within that time frame, whether it's a week or 2 weeks, all you've actually accomplished and like what you've kind of gotten to at that point. So a lot of the other philosophies in Agile are about kind of looking back. So I do a lot of like retros and metrics, and it can actually like, you can actually see where you're going with those goals. So it's not just like okay, I'm just doing this and then not seeing any value from it. So you kind of, that's the whole point of a sprint, right? You say, okay, I'm going to work like this for 2 weeks, and then kind of look back and be like, okay, what actually moved the needle? What didn't? Where are we going to change moving forward? So. Yeah.
So but like, if I'm not sure if you knew it, or some people knew this already, but like I work as a software engineer as well.
I remember
the Agile framework is very familiar to me. I'm not like.
I was like, I feel like Dan knows what I'm talking about. I feel like
I do, but I wanted still to give you a chance to clarify it there.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you work with like on Agile teams, or is it?
It's the basic framework that pretty much most our software engineering teams work with. It's got its upsides and downsides. There's and usually at least every single team I've worked with has their own version of that Agile system going on for them. So it's basically picking up what works and stuff like that. But my point here is that I know how I'm obviously very familiar with it in a work setting, but in this everyday life setting, I'm not as familiar. Could you say?
Yeah, that's why, and I feel like not a lot of people think about it like that. And there may be like other frameworks that like use the principles of it. Obviously, like if we're time boxing and doing that, but But I haven't seen, where people kind of take it into, out of the corporate jargon. And I think I've always kind of thought like that because I feel like I've always been a planner by nature. So when I kind of learned about Agile, I was like, oh, because I've always been the overthinker and like have a huge backlog of stuff that's just project based. And I have a hard time like breaking it down myself. So I'm like, okay, I want to do Substack. Like Substack's a perfect example. Okay, I want to do Substack. I want to write on Substack. And it's like, immediately you're like, how can I make this like a paid business? How can I go like, in 5 months, you're already thinking that. And it took me a minute to kind of back off because you get caught up in everyone's success and you're like, oh, I could do that. And then you try to do everything. And then it kind of looks like you don't really have a strategy. So, and I feel like it's not a bad thing, but you kind of start reflecting on, okay, what am I actually doing? Or you burn yourself out trying to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like small tasks and like just focusing on what you care about, but also like what matters to your kind of ties back to your goals, right? So if it is monetization, if it is trying to grow, like what can you do to get to those, goals at the end? So a lot of, with Agile, we have the planning, for every 3 months, and you kind of like fit into the bigger objectives. So that's also another idea I have for creators is the same idea is how do we kind of work towards that? Because time is what everyone doesn't have enough of. So that's like why I thought I'm like, this is all based on time boxing. And again, like you said, it's not a perfect system. There's a lot of distractions and you have to allow for flexibility. But yeah.
True.
Agile, I love that. That is. Oh yeah, I've definitely, waterfall and Agile together is, hybrid is probably most of what I do at work, but
there's some people say that what's the word? What's this saying in English? In Finnish we got rakkaan lapsen on nime, like a child everybody loves has many names, roughly translated.
Oh,
and so basically waterfall and Agile, it's got so many different names to use for what basically means the same thing.
Yeah. And for everyone not in IT, like I'm glad, I think it's Shamika. She people are probably like, what the hell are they talking about? But waterfall just essentially means it's just long-term projects. So you're looking at like a big project and you're not really breaking it down into small sprints. You're doing stuff,
You're just doing one thing at a time until eventually you're done.
But the reason that doesn't work is because of how quickly things change. So I feel like whenever projects and, corporations are still, especially bigger companies, they are still in this mindset. They're like, oh, we're going to roll out this big project. And then, we're not going to plan smaller. And they always want to see the end goal, right? And I mean, that's just that mindset still exists in corporate. And
let's not go into that corporate.
That's a whole nother discussion. So, but
there's actually something I remember reading from you a couple of weeks ago. You had the sprint showcase idea that you had done.
Yeah.
So my question is, how would you define it? What makes the messy middle more valuable to you than the so-called polished success stories? How would you define this?
So I think with the messy middle, it's a unique place, right? Because I think everyone, especially on like creating and on here, everybody thinks that they have to be perfect before they show something. So whether it's an article or something, a product they're designing, I think people think that they have to have everything figured out and they're kind of designing it in a silo. So, and then just kind of promoting it, and then maybe you don't get any feedback on it and it's not exactly what you wanted, and then you spend all this time. So I think the messy middle kind of highlights where you've started, and it allows for people to give you feedback if you want it. Not everyone's comfortable getting feedback. I personally don't like critical feedback, but I do think it's important. I'm always like, That's why like the coaching group is always kind of interesting because I'm like, I don't want anyone to say anything to me, but I think it's good. But no, the showcase is more, it was a little more positive. Like if people want feedback, I totally, I say that in the articles and stuff. But yeah, the whole idea is to kind of take like what you're trying to build, and a lot of people are in progress. Like I feel like there's people that are further than others, but even if you're growing here, you may just be at a different level. So the first one I did was Lydia. And she's had like success pretty quickly on Substack. But I thought like her story was really good because she's still, figuring things out as she goes. And then yeah, all the ones that I have coming up are in kind of different stages. So yeah, it was really fun to do. And a lot of people did articles. They don't want to do video, but like I am doing a live actually tomorrow with Cindy. So we're gonna try to do that. But the idea is, yeah, like just showing kind of where you're at and just getting feedback. And then also like, because sometimes it takes a while to get to the end result. So I always believe about celebrating in the middle of it and just realizing and looking back at like how much you actually have done, because it doesn't feel like it when you're in the middle of it. So I'm all about celebrating your success before you get to the end goal. So
yeah.
We
got, for me at least, like or something I actually thought about when you were explaining that there's difference between wanting feedback and then there's wanting reassurance. And they sound very similar. Like when you're asking feedback, you might actually want reassurance even though you're asking for feedback, and it can be kind of difficult as the other party then to know which one you actually want.
Yes.
And that it was a note I wrote a few some time ago that just highlighting that difference.
Yeah.
For myself at least, like I definitely don't like getting critical feedback, and if you or anyone else has some feedback for me, I always like to listen.
You do? Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I'm paying attention to the chat too.
So basically, for Brandon, like not even knowing what to write next week, yeah, so you can easily pivot. Yeah, I can understand that because I do have a plan, a rough sketch of a plan on what I'm writing for kind of a long-term goal as well. But I do often get this idea, oh wait, that's really interesting, and then I suddenly have written an article about it. So before I even realized that it's basically
it's true. And I think like, I think critical feedback is helpful. And I think like being in any kind of like formal coaching group like we are, and we didn't mention that, but that's how we kind of connected is through David McElroy. Am I saying his last name right? I feel like I knew.
Close enough at least. Like
I mean, I think I've heard him.
Who knows about those Irish people?
Yes. But we are in a coaching group, and it's been so helpful. But yeah, it's kind of scary. Like I think being on the hot seat and getting feedback immediately is especially if it's not what you want to hear. But I do think it is necessary to grow. Actually, like being in those sessions has helped me pivot in a different direction, and just hearing like, okay, well, what do you think people are coming to for? I think you need some of that in the beginning because you kind of are in your own head and you don't know right away. But yeah, it's not always going to be what you want to hear. And honestly, like the cheerleaders are great. Like I have a lot of really good supporters. But I know like there's one that I connect with, Rebecca. She's designed like this really cool tool for Substack. And I was a beta tester on it, and I feel like all I was doing was giving good feedback. And she was like, okay, I need like not the friend like version. I need you to be honest, and I'm like, oh, okay. But no, it's hard for me because I do that. I always give positive feedback and maybe not constructive. So I feel like I could work on that.
That's the different ones, yeah. Then we got for Brandon liking critical feedback to write using an article, like writing about X's. That's maybe that article could be something about like how Taylor Swift songs. There's so many songs about X's that she's got.
No, it's true.
Yeah. No, I mean it works. There's nothing, and it can be, and because she's clearly made a huge success on just pretty much writing about X's. So there's clearly a proven market for it.
Yeah. All right, Brian, have to go.
No worries, Brian.
Riza, look at Riza. We gotta give him a shout out. Do you know?
Oh, Riza. Yeah, no, he's one of this writing a like professional marketer or something like.
He is like a professional something. No, he Riza's cool because he. I know. I'm so unserious. So please.
No worries.
No, but Riza, he's like one of the first people that subscribed to me, and so I just remember he's one of my OGs for sure. But
cool.
he's had like massive success with Substack, and he's a unicorn, I feel, because not everyone gets to like 1,500 subscribers in 3 months by just writing. So he's definitely got his writing is so, in my opinion, just to shout out to him really quick, is very like unique, and he's got a lot of passion behind it. And I just feel like when you read it, you can tell he's like talking to you, even though he doesn't know you. I don't know. That's the way that I read his stuff. Thanks for sharing, Riza.
Cool. Yeah, been talking to Riza a couple of times as well along the way. For me, at least, the writing experience, like I can understand those. That there are people who are, I wouldn't say naturally gifted, but more practiced. Yeah, as a writer. Like I do remember, I remember when I was starting out on Substack as a writer, I thought I was good at writing, and boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
good.
What?
Your rating is good.
Thanks. It's been improving over time as I've been here, but I feel like I'm getting there slowly.
Yeah.
To a point where I actually feel like it's good, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's a process to figure out how you want to say and in what way, and then also to make sure that it says the message that you actually want, because when you're writing, you only have one medium, and it's kind of, I've noticed too many times now that it's easy to get it to try and say one thing and then you actually accidentally say something else with the words that you're using. So trying to figure out how do you put it so that it actually gives out the message you want to.
Yeah, it is. I know, it's interesting. I sometimes I put stuff out and I'm like, I don't know, but then people react to stuff that you don't think they're going to, which I don't know. Sometimes I'm always like, if I post something, I'm immediately looking, did anyone see it? People do not see articles right away. That is one thing I have noticed on Substack. Notes, people see immediately, but articles get hidden a little bit. And if you don't, like, I had to turn emails off because I was subscribing to so many people and it was just getting crazy. So now I only see it in the app, but even so, it's like you have to reshare articles because people are not, like, I definitely don't get as much comments on my articles versus notes. But I think it's because people are in a feed, so it's like you have to keep promoting them a little bit. Because otherwise they don't really get seen, or like putting them in chats or something.
It's touch and go. Like I feel like the notes are what people generally see, and then pushing those up, and then when someone gets interested in what you're writing, they find your profile or your publication and go through the stuff you're writing as well.
Totally.
Okay. I was actually thinking there's something. Wait. Oh yeah, something you've written about this, like saying how. Yeah, let's use this topic. You've talked about that AI is a useful planning tool or business partner, but without replacing the writer. So, how do you recognize where the line is on this topic?
Yeah, I know, and I think you talked recently about AI too in an article. So I feel like AI is obviously taking over. I just said in a chat yesterday that it feels like the 90s internet era when the internet first came on board and everyone was like, what is this? What are we doing? It feels like that. Obviously more powerful because there's a lot, but it feels like that's kind of where we are. A lot of people are now starting to use it. It's in everything we do. Almost everything, every app you open now has some sort of AI bot. So I feel like you can't get away from it. I always kind of tell this, it's funny. My husband, he's like more of a blue collar guy and not super techy, just not his thing. But he's a big sci-fi person, so he's always talking about Terminator and just how it's
That's cool.
he's an AI, so he's like, oh, it's coming true. Like that's exactly what happened. So, but it's funny because I do use it. I love it. I've always been about doing things like more automated or more simple. I think in systems that way. I always have like thought, how do we do something simpler? Which is probably why I'm like so obsessed with Agile and being flexible and stuff. But what I noticed is you can like over optimize your life and AI doesn't help with that. So you can literally just be like, help me do this, help me do that. And you can literally every aspect of your life that didn't need optimization now does, because, oh, well, there's always going to be a better way to do this. And AI is going to tell you what you can do to improve. So I take a little bit of a step back because I was literally trying to have all these goals and like, trying to refine it. And it gets to the point where you're burning yourself out using an AI agent. But yeah, I think the biggest tip that I have with using them and how I use them kind of like with Substack and stuff is just, brain dumps and drafts and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, people can tell, like, I know everybody has no time and we want to automate stuff, but I think when it comes to the connection piece and talking to people in DMs, like that should always be you. And even when you're writing, like the personality has to come through, even if you draft it. I feel like there's nothing wrong. I know with the AI detector and stuff, it shows it flags me on my own writing. And I think it's because I use like emojis and I don't know, ChatGPT likes to use emojis too. So I get annoyed because I'm like, it's not whatever. I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? If it says it's partially AI, like whatever. So
I checked when the Pangram AI detector thingy came out a couple of weeks or was a month back or something. I tried it on a few times and I realized that there was actually one piece I literally wrote myself and it actually claimed was 93% AI written.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I wrote this myself kind of that way. And then there was one time when I just for fun tried out, I took a draft that I literally I brain dumped and asked AI to write a draft on it. And it said 100% human written. I was like,
isn't that, yeah, I know. So
I mean, I'm not saying it's a fine idea that the Pangram, it's there to try and fix an issue with trusting the writer, that is the writer actually, writing it themselves or just like posting a lot of so-called AI slop. But
totally, I feel like you can tell when people are doing just AI and there's nothing else. Like if you're drafting and structuring with AI, and I know somebody was on a call yesterday about this, but people that have like English as a second language or third language or whatever, like AI coming in, especially when you're trying to write, is so helpful for them. They may not communicate naturally, and using AI and can actually really help translate. So I think there's parts of it that are fine, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, like you can kind of tell when it's robotic communication. And I feel like that's where you kind of lose people, or if you're like churning out these notes, like you're 4 to 5 times a day and it's like these generic notes, you can tell, and it's just like, you're just feeding the algorithm a little bit, which that's not, I don't know.
I mean, it's got its upsides and downsides. I did, because I mean, obviously I've used AI more and less, both for notes and for posts, to figure out where's the line for me as well. Like at the end of the day, I want to be able to read through my whole post before I post it, that actually this feels like something I could have said in as well, pretty much. And sure, I mean, sometimes I know I use a line that AI has fed me. Sometimes I realize, no, wait, this is never going to work
Right.
because it doesn't sound like me. So at the end of the day, that's the final. Like, yes, you can use it to help you write. It can be used to improve your speech. Like, English is my third language as well, so
I
it's
was
kind
gonna
of like.
say, I didn't want to assume, but I was pretty sure. I was like, you're probably in that boat. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, sure, I do feel like I'm fluent enough in English that I don't need to go through Finnish or Swedish first, but it's still like there are some ways or some things that I can say in my language that I just can't find the words for in English, and then trying to find some better other way of putting it is sometimes difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of pros for it. I mean, again, it's a weird space right now. I feel like there's not a lot of regulation around it, and people are using it however, but I think what it's able to do, and like, you know, product designs and thinking, and there's a lot of things that it's giving potential to people that didn't have it before.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I think like anything else, there's a balance, of course, but it's absolutely helps with somebody's mind like mine that's always like brain dumping or whatever. It can help kind of structure how you want to like think or prioritize, and I think that's the helpful piece of it, is like, okay, what do I need to focus on? And once it learns your patterns, it kind of like can help out with that. So
Mm.
yeah, but not over optimize. See, the eventual thing is you have to like decide when you're gonna not ask it anymore. And they are getting better at like telling you, like, just like, I don't know. I think Claude sometimes will tell you to like go to bed or whatever, which is like, that's like so weird, because it's still not great with time, I feel, because it'll be like the middle of the day, but it'll think it's the same conversation, and it'll be like, you've had enough, go to bed. I'm like, what? You're a robot. Like, what are you talking about? So I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Then actually something to another topic a little bit here, that you said you have a young family as well, and then a job that you're trying to balance with everything. So have you been using the next sprint idea that you're trying to build out for your own family as well?
Yeah, that's kind of like my
Do you have like meetings with your husband as well to
I
plan out the coming
joked
weeks?
I joked with him. I was like, "Oh, we should like do stand-ups." And he's like completely different than me. He doesn't have like to-do list. Guys have like usually think a little bit different. But no, I definitely have to kind of apply the same methods to my own life, because yeah, like every day feels like there's like pockets of who I am. And I feel like this has changed since I became a mom. Obviously, like, you have young kids as well. And my son's 2.5. So I feel like I'm still figuring this out. But yeah, once he kind of came into the picture, like everything else sort of like becomes not as big of a priority, which is
Mm,
how it should be, right? But you also are trying to figure out yourself and like how to still do stuff at work and whatever. But yeah, like Substack kind of gave me this like other outlet of like, I kind of wanted to build something on my own. I feel like being a mom and kind of going through this kind of motivated me, because um not that I don't like my jobs or whatever, like the companies I've been working at like have been great, but it's just like wanting to do something on my own has like always been in the back of my head. But I wanted to kind of, do this. I don't know. Now is like better than ever, I guess. But also, I'm the busiest I've ever been. So that's the kind of the beauty of this, is like I'm actually like experimenting with things and building it out myself. And if it works for me, I try to share it. And I feel like that's kind of the beauty of Substack, and the beauty of like doing this is you kind
mm,
of test stuff, you experiment with things and stuff that you do normally, and then somebody else might relate to it. Maybe they won't, maybe they don't, maybe they don't think like that, but somebody out there might. And I think that's why sharing the journey is a really big piece of what I do. So I was writing like retrospectives a lot, and they're a little more personal, bloggy type posts. And now that I've like rebranded, I'm thinking through how I'm going to do those, but I still am going to do like some version of them because I just feel like that makes me who I am. I like sharing the personal stuff. I think not everyone's like that, but I think that makes it fun, right? And it makes
You
it
know,
look real, right? So it's like, here's this, and I'm not a success story yet, but yet. But it's like, it makes it seem real. It's like, oh, okay, Danielle's like got a full-time job and she's doing all this and she was able to do it. So like, how, I want to be able to do that. So
yeah.
kind of my goal. So
That's it in a sense, if you actually go all in on this like agile framework in terms of how you write it, it actually could be pretty fun to say that you actually, well, the daily or stand-ups that you have could be your notes, more or less. Like you put 1 or 2 notes a day, which are your so-called stand-ups, the thoughts
yeah,
of the day or something. Then you got like the weekly planning meetings on, that's your posts, normal posts, and then you got also your retrospectives, like let's say once a month or something. That
the framework. Like I did start the
you
subscriber
could
chat
just,
in that
yeah,
way. Like they are kind of like stand-ups. And again, like it's been a fine line. Like I've been leaning in and out of this because you want to get to where you're not too niche, but also like, and that's what my article was about last night, is like, but I keep coming back to it because I'm like, that's what I'm like the expert in. Like that's what I know. It's what I'm passionate about. So even if people don't know what that is, like I'm here to like, relate it to what you're doing. That's the whole point of building out here. I don't know everything everybody's building, but that's the whole point. You're trying to learn. So, and if it resonates with somebody, then that's even better. But obviously, like I'm trying to like model it after like, okay, I'm gonna use the Agile framework, but without the corporate jargon, So because yeah, Scrum Master and all those weird words are not they don't make a lot of sense, but and I think, like I said, like every framework kind of follows something similar. Like we all kind of check in and people reflect and whatever, but I think doing it on a consistent basis, it can just really help, I think, any kind of project. And yeah, I did start, when I started this, I started it more of a personal, like, hey, I use Agile in my own life. And like, here's how I do that. So that's kind of was my angle before, which it still I think might come in, but now I've pivoted a little bit more to like creators and people on Substack because that's like what I'm doing and I keep posting about it. So I'm like, maybe that should be the audience. So yeah, I'm kind of niching a little bit more in that direction for now, but I feel like we're flexible out here, so it could change.
I mean, obviously we get to change if we want to. That's one of the cool things about being human. Like we always have the option to change if we want to.
Being adaptive.
Being adaptive, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Something I was actually thinking about when you were describing that your like agile framework thinking, how you've been doing it, is that something I've been wrestling with is as well when I've been planning out what to write about, and because I do like to have a long-term goal instead of just like writing and just have basically randomly posting. So there's something I feel like I have an internal plan or my way, my side of the writing, which is something that only is up to me, or if I sometimes have a team at some point have a team behind me, it's on our side. It's not something that the readers will see necessarily.
Right.
So I was thinking that this the same idea could fit for you as well. That from your point of view, you're using the agile framework, like the stand-ups are your notes, and the posts are the planning meetings and whatnot. But then from the outside, it doesn't need to look like that at all. It can look
Right.
still like it can look like something completely different. So
Yes.
so basically, what I'm here trying to say is that you can definitely use this on your internal side, but then you are right in the sense that this agile framework, it is in a sense corporate jargon, even that term. Sure, many people know it, but not everyone knows it.
Right. Right.
So
And
it might
so,
be more valuable to consider to use it as your internal like or your framework in terms of how you work and how you produce. But then from the outside, it still looks like, well, whatever it is that you want it to look like.
right. Right. Yeah. I've thought about that too. And I'm like, I obviously like I don't want to bring in like exact terms that they use. Like I do use sprint, but I feel like sprint's a little more generic. Like people use sprints all the time for like
Yeah,
bursts of challenges and stuff. So I'm like, I feel like sprint is more well known than like Scrum Master and work, WIP, like work in progress stuff, and because that is like the one area that I do want to focus on more because a lot of people are like, I don't have time. And with Agile, we solve that by estimation and story pointing and stuff like that. So I'm like thinking through how to bring that in because obviously not doing a whole story pointing session. I don't want to do that. But just the concepts behind it, how
yeah,
does it, what does that mean? Because again, like story pointing is a good topic because it's like the time aspect of it is only one piece. So, and
yeah,
I'm talking to you because I know you know what I'm talking about. But like, the complexity and all of that goes
yeah,
into it too. So it's like that's a way of estimating in a sprint and doing that. So it's beyond the time
yeah,
frame, which again, like is why like what I'm so passionate about is it's like we're not just focusing on stuff to do it, right? So it's like with Substack, you can have a list of items that you have to complete every day, but the real question that we should be asking is that going to be value add? Is it going
mm,
to contribute to the end goal? And I think that's what I want to try to answer. So yeah, I'm excited. It may like never evolve. I don't know, but you know what? I enjoy writing. I've always been into writing anyway.
mm,
Obviously this is more teaching, but I've like I used to blog and all of that. So I feel like it's still fun to do. It's just yeah, like trying to niche down and do more of like a business type thing. You have to stick a little bit to topics, but I feel like still not being preachy and teachy. Like there's still like room for personality. I think you
yeah,
talk about that a lot too. Is you don't want to just stick to one thing, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like a lot of people say you have to know who you're talking to, and I know that that's key, but I also feel like it's important to be relatable. So
mm.
gotta
No,
find
it's
a mix.
I would say the not niching down is a harder path because it's something that's going to take much longer to get to the point where people actually, well, we talk about trust a lot, and to build trust when you're not niching down is, I would argue, a lot harder because you've got a lot more ground to cover. You got a lot more like miles to run before you actually earn that trust.
Right.
So therefore, obviously, yes, it's harder, but I mean, I did it once already with my company, and I know I could do it again as well. It's just going to take time.
Right. And it's just figuring it out. I think
Yeah.
it's hard to because yeah, when I first came on, one of the first things I was asked was, and I think it was David, and he's like, "Well, who are you rating for? Like, who's your ideal reader?" And it's hard to imagine that like in the beginning, you don't really know.
Yeah.
And I kind of think I'm like, well, my ideal reader is somebody like me. So, but I'm like, what does that really look like? And I'm like, I mean, is it a mom?
Mom,
Yeah,
agile freak.
right. Agile freak. That's what my publication name should be. Agile. Well, wait, that might get different attention. Never mind. But that's awesome. But yeah, I initially was like, I don't know who I'm writing for, like
Yeah.
exactly. And I started out like moms, because it was an easy place because that's where I'm at. And
Mm,
I do have a lot of creators on here that are moms, and I
yeah.
do have a relatable path there. And I do think that is one audience. It is the moms building stuff that have a full life. Maybe they're not working a 9 to 5, or maybe they are, but
Yeah.
so it's different audiences a little bit. And then I do have a lot of people that are just like starting their own business. They may not be parents, but that are thinking like, how can I do this more efficiently? So I do have like different people in the audience, you know. I do think like rebranding and stuff, I have lost a little bit of subscribers. Not a lot, but I'm in like the 400, so I feel like I don't have a lot to like tons to lose. But yeah, I did have a few unsubscribes, and I don't know what that means. Maybe it's because they see I'm going a different direction. They know I'm not going to be as, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I didn't
There's
really say,
there's
yeah,
something called a so-called natural churn as well. Like there's going to be some people who
yeah.
try you out and just realize, no, this ain't for me, and then move on. It's completely normal. It's going to happen. You shouldn't think about it too much. Obviously, if there's a big spike when there's lots of people unsubscribing at once, then you might want to look into it, what might have caused it. But
Yeah.
if it's
It
just
is
one here and there,
right?
yeah, yeah. I let's just say the post I did last Sunday, it didn't really come out the way I thought it did the first version of it, and I can see why that the way it was at first could raise some hairs for some people and definitely want to walk away because of it.
Really?
It's a lesson learned for me, at least in that sense, that I should frame it the correct way from the get-go and not use the wrong framing at first.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
I think people say when they unsubscribe, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just people, you never know. People might just
Huh?
be flooded. People might just not resonate anymore. I think we take it personal, but I realize it's all good.
Yeah, it's not worth taking personal. We
No.
got Brandon here, who's got an ideal reader called Carl, rich amateur cook who has cats and like sarcasm. Um, this Carl really reminds me of someone in a book series called Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm not sure if Brandon's familiar with that, but Carl sounds really like him, and
Brandon needs to share that as a note.
and I can definitely say that you've got good taste if that's your ideal reader.
I love Brandon's stuff because he's got everything going on. Like it's just he's cooking, he's talking about everything. I think it's awesome.
Brandon's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned that you had some other commitment coming up at the like in 10 minutes or so. So do you want to have any closing words here?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I mean, this was really fun. I think we talked about doing this. I feel like I'm trying to go live more. So this has been really good. I think like I said, I think I've got you coming up on the sprint showcase, so maybe we'll talk about formats and stuff. Anyone that's like answered the questions, I'm trying to like also do an article, because I feel like I said to pick one or the other, but now I'm like, oh, I want to do I feel like if they spend time on the questions, I'm like trying to do both. But I backed myself up a little bit, of course. And I was kind of like, I felt pressured because I was like, okay, I'm gonna just post them out, and do them all back to back. But I think I need to give them like space a little bit. So I'm like maybe once a week. So I do have those coming up. So yeah. So we'll hear more from you, obviously. But yeah, no, this was really fun. And I feel like I mean, if anybody wants to follow us in our journeys, we're here.
Something I like to do on these lives as well is like, do you have I know I'm putting you on the spot, but like, do you have a so-called closing question? What thought would you like the people to have after they listen to us talk here?
Thought closing. Let's see. I feel like maybe if you're overwhelmed, especially creating on here, and you feel like you have a lot of big ideas, but you don't know how to plan it all and figure it out, then come hit me up because we could talk. That's my new, I just came up with that elevator pitch right now. I feel like
cool.
it was still vague. It was a little vague. But I'm also just fun, and I don't know. I'll bring the fun. That's how I can market as well. I think I wrote about that today, actually. So
yeah.
What about
Definitely.
you? You close out too. Learn how to be an adaptive human.
More like should I say, be read like to kind of maybe just say this, put it this way simply, something I brought up earlier today already, but we always have options in our lives that we get to choose what we want to do, and we also get to choose how we want to do it. We get to choose how we react to whatever is going on in front of us. So just as a closing thought, remember, we have options.
I like that. I really do. There's always options. Cool. Well, this was awesome.
Yeah. Anyways,
We'll have to
thanks
do
for.
this again. We'll plan. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, definitely. You can hit me up in the DMs always, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Anyways, thanks to all the viewers as well. I will be putting this out as a post at some point, either later today or tomorrow. We'll see when
I didn't miss anyone. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Joel popped in. A couple people from my crew popped in. So cool. People.
Yeah.
We had a good audience.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Thanks
Anyways,
for Brandon.
Yeah. Like I said, thanks to all the viewers, and I'll see you guys next time, whenever that happens to be this time. All right.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.